Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Days, welcome to this week's NXT review. Got a few shout outs to start, so Lava Pup, News Guy, Evan Gaming, Jedi Ferrara, yes, I think I got that right, and SMW Animations. Thanks a lot for the support, and again, thank you to all of you that watch these reviews and show support to this channel. So it felt this week like they gave quite a few people the week off. They were still around, some of them like in backstage segments. Tommaso Ciampa and Revival obviously were there, as was Nakamura, but there was no matches involving those guys. Instead we were showcased some new faces. Obviously NXT's gone through this massive kind of overhaul, if you will, because of the amount of talent that's got called up to the main roster, which is kind of really left NXT kind of thin. They've got names, I just don't really understand why they gave so many of those names the week off. Maybe the likes of Austin Aries was meant to compete, but he's claiming to have, and I don't know if it's true, damaged his eardrum. Also, we know Samoa Joe at the start of the show was shown as not being able to compete because of his jaw, and they also said that they found other things wrong. Again, I don't know if this is a storyline, if this is true. I'm expecting Joe to be out a while, a few weeks with his jaw anyway, so we'll have to see what comes of it. But in truth, this week's NXT felt flat. It did feel flat. There was no kind of feuds that were really furthered. We were just shown some new faces which really didn't do it in the ring. It still had its moments, Nakamura at the end was cool, and there were some alright backstage segments. That beatdown between Revival and Tommaso Ciampa was vicious, but as I said, the kind of highlights were few and far between. Ty Dillinger against Buddy Murphy wasn't a highlight. It was nice to see Ty second week in a row, and really he deserves a feud. He should be going up against somebody, being given chance to cut promos and showcase what he can do. So I hope that there's a feud awaiting him. He's now beaten Blake and Murphy in really kind of non-important matches that don't mean anything. Blake and Murphy just need to have a feud with each other, because really that's the only thing I can see for them at the moment. And as I said, I'd love Ty to go up against anyone, just so he can get his teeth into something. It was a longish match, to tell the truth, this first match. Not that many impressive spots in it. Ty picks up the victory. The Revival beating up Ciampa, as we said, it was vicious. I didn't know if someone was going to come out and help Tommaso. I don't know if this is going to further the split between Tommaso and Johnny. Tommaso and Johnny are both going to Raw, into the Cruiserweight division, so they won't be in as a tag team, so I think they could be pulling the trigger on a split sooner rather than later. So I fully expect this to result in a split amongst those guys, which is a real shame. Tommaso maybe could go with the line of, I took a beating, where were you? You're not around, blah blah blah. Steve Cutler, a former Marine, up against Kenneth Crawford. I don't recall seeing Kenneth Crawford before. Might seem like once before, something like that. But yeah, this was slow. I mean, Crawford picked up the pace towards the end. There was a nice running, shooting star, but it was Steve Cutler that picked up the victory in a match that, again, didn't have that many impressive spots. NXT, I know people don't agree with me on this, but it is developmental. And I just find it amazing that they would put all of these kind of new faces, Cutler, Crawford, we had Liv Morgan, we had Aaliyah, all of these people, Angelo Dawkins, into the same week. Why didn't they space this out a little bit? I know we've seen Dawkins before, I know we've seen Liv Morgan before, but they're not established stars. This wasn't like seeing Bailey or Nia Jax or Carmella. These we've seen, a handful of times before in matches that they've probably lost. Against some of those names that I've already mentioned. Now they're getting a chance to kind of really showcase themselves then they're gonna struggle, and it really showed this week. So Cutler against Crawford, I didn't enjoy. Loved the interview with Hideo Itami though, where he said that he had kicked Austin Aries in the head with his sockless loafers, and said that he'll put him to sleep again in the future if he comes near him or tries anything. Aries mentioned about the sockless loafers later in the show as well. No Way Jose up next against Angelo Dawkins, and again there wasn't much to this match. No Way Jose jumps in with the crowd after, which was a nice moment, but they just, I don't know if the CWC is just ruining me, but I'm just expecting more than what I'm getting from NXT. And they've got the talent, and they can tell great stories, but they need to step it up. They're just doing, it's like watching The Miz. Every match is like watching The Miz. They just basics and play it safe. Next we had Austin Aries and Cien backstage. Cien talking in his native tongue. Aries saying, whoa, I didn't get the Rosetta Stone, so what are you gonna, can you talk to me in English please? Again, it was fun, but it didn't mean anything. I mean, Cien wants a feud with Austin Aries. Austin Aries obviously wants to tangle with Hideo Itami. I don't know where it's all leading. I'd imagine it'll just be a singles feud between Aries and Hideo. I think, I was kind of hoping for a bit more clarity on all of that in this week's show, but we didn't get it. If anything, it confused matters. Next we got a decent match, right? This was the best match for me of the night, and it was Liv Morgan against Aaliyah. I love Aaliyah's entrance. I love Liv Morgan's, but I've said that before. Aaliyah, I think, is starting to come into her own a bit more now. She's got a better entrance. Her ring attire looks better. She kind of, from a distance, looks a little bit like Ariana Grande, which is only ever going to help. Liv Morgan looks like a personal trainer, though. I love her music, but I think she needs to really think about her ring attire, because it just looks a bit too casual. It looks like she's kind of jumped out of the crowd. There was boos and boring, which in the early stages of the match I agree with, but I don't think it was any worse than any other match I saw. There was a fantastic submission hold, though. This is what elevated it for me, was this kind of Kimura head scissor hold that Aaliyah had applied, which Tom Phillips and Corey Graves both said they'd never seen before, and I don't recall seeing it before either. So to see a move I hadn't seen before in a match of this caliber was refreshing, and really made this stand out. Big kick, it was like a roundhouse kick, but not quite, from Liv Morgan, meant that she picked up the victory. Don't get me wrong for a second, this match was not anything above okay, but in a week where all the other matches struggled to get to okay, for me, I'd probably say that if I had to go back and watch a match again, I'd watch this one. Asuka next week, announced as being on the show next week. And then we get Nakamura coming out saying that the Joe era is over. He wanted to be face the best, so he came to NXT, and also the fact that this is now the era of strong style. I really expected someone to come out and interfere. No one did. And as I said, the show just finished in what was one of the weakest NXTs I can remember. Really looking forward to next week with Asuka. I'm hoping that we get some more, big faces coming back, like Bobby Roode. We did see Bobby Roode very, very briefly. Backstage interview with No Way Jose. Roode walks up, stands next to him, looks him up and down and goes, "Nice face," or "Nice head," or something like that, and walks off. It was rubbish. If you didn't see this week's episode, you probably could afford to miss it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Give the video a like if you liked it. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Wrestling Days UK. And hopefully I'll see you again next week for a much better show. Because as I said, this was a real downer. Thank God for this week's CWC though, and the review of that will be up very, very soon. And you don't want to miss it, because it was an awesome show. Thanks, guys. See you next time.